Hi, this is Eager Ginger bringing you another manhwa recap. Make sure to hit that like button for part 2 and subscribe so you know when my next video will be posted. Without further ado, let's dive right in. A dark red spiral tower is shown with the words, "Next up, news on Babylon." The Black Dragon Guild has set out to raid the 40th floor of the tower. Haven't they boasted that they will show the skills of a top guild this time? Unfortunately, they came back empty-handed again, with a beautiful woman with light purple hair being shown with cameras shuttering around her. A man with long hair in a ponytail with a red bomber jacket is shown standing in front of a bunch of cameras, with the reporter saying, having showdown the Black Dragon's aspirations, he is the shining main character of today, the #1 ranked hunter. Now we have a close-up of the man in red, with the reporter introducing him as the Flame Emperor, and that he raided the boss by himself again. The reporter starts asking more questions. "How are you today, Mr. Flame Emperor?" He responds, "Yeah, hi, nice to see you." The reporter states, "You set another record today. Since the appearance of the tower, you, the Flame Emperor, are the only one to have defeated boss monsters by yourself." The reporter then begins to hand the microphone over while asking, "Would you like to give a word?" The Flame Emperor ends up snatching it from his hand while saying, "That's all, whatever." With a look of disgust on his face, the Emperor says, "Can we do something about that shitty nickname first?" The reporter, clearly surprised, asks, "Pardon?" The Flame Emperor proceeds to go on a rant stating, "Flame Emperor, why are calling me with such a dumbass nickname when I have a proper name?" The reporter, dumbfounded, could only say, continuing his rant with, "What in the world is a Flame Emperor? Flame Emperor, really? Why don't you call me Flame Retard while you're at it? It's f***ing embarrassing." Then the story cuts to a young man with black hair tousled over his forehead stating, "I'm envious," as the Flame Emperor is continuing to scream on the computer monitor saying, "I'm going to find and beat up the mother that came up with this nickname." The reporter quickly apologizes as if it's his fault. Cutting back to the envious man, he says, "Having a life where you can say whatever you want whenever you want." Then a phone screen is shown with a social media app being used. Then we are shown people with profile pictures on their head to show that they are typing in the chat. The avatar with the cat face says, "He is being watched by the entire world, can't he be less foul-mouthed?" Next is the blonde avatar, and she says, "Why does nationality matter when it comes to the tower? So what about his personality anyways? He's already a legendary hunter." The black-haired man from before appears saying, "I want to become like the Flame Emperor." Circling back to the cat profile picture, he asks, "What are you a fan of the Flame Emperor? There's better people to defend online." Blondie answers back with, "I am just stating the facts. It is not like people do not know he is that kind of person." The news network put him on air despite knowing that. Then the dark-haired man from before repeats the same phrase, "I want to become like the Flame Emperor." Now a new user joins the chat with a city landscape as his picture. He states he has such a crappy personality. How is he dating the saint? Or is she a saint because of that? The cat PFP is in shock at this, stating, "What, since when have they been dating?" Then the blonde confirms this by saying, "Yep, I have a friend who is a hunter that saw the two of them together." Then the black-haired man repeats himself a third time, "I want to be like the Flame Emperor," almost as if it is his mantra. The story cuts to the phone RMC, with the cat PFP asking who keeps typing, "I want to be like the Flame Emperor," with the protagonist typing it for a fourth time. He then proceeds to say it/type it a whole 3 more times. Kinda creepy, not gonna lie. The reporter and the Flame Emperor are shown on the computer screen, with the reporter saying, "So, Mr. Flame Emperor." The MC is praising the Emperor, stating he's so amazing that they pay attention to every single word he says. He is also said to be really rich. I'm envious of that too. Then the Emperor gets mad at the reporter for calling him by that, and instead of his name. Bro, chill, no reason to act like that. Flaming man, I wonder if he would prefer that name, is shown with an electric spear in his hand and bathing in golden light, with the MC speaking and saying, "If the world was a novel, then someone like him would be the main character, right?" Then the protagonist starts talking about himself, claiming, "I am an extra that can't even become a side character." After that, the reporter asks a question to the flaming man. Then to end it off, could I ask for one last phrase to the viewers, which piques the MC interest. The reporter goes on to state, "There are a lot of hard-working hunter applicants inspired by Mr. Yu Suha." The reporter continues, "Awakening to your skills as soon as you enter the tower in your early 20s. defeating a boss monster that couldn't be cleared for 10 years in 1 month. You are truly a legendary hunter. Holding the microphone to the Flame Emperor, he asks, to the aspiring hunters, could you give them a quick tip on the secret to success? The Emperor sighs, but he agrees too and starts with, I'm only going to say this once, so pay attention to it if you want or whatever. He continues, in the end, those who are destined to succeed will succeed. But even if you do succeed, don't start beef with me. You will die. And then he promptly turns his back on the crowd and walks away with the reporter calling out to him. The MC is showy, sitting in front of his computer watching the interview as the reporter is asking, what do you mean by that just now, Mr. Flame Emperor? With that we will end our special report. The reporter begins to say, to our viewers before the protagonist slams the laptop shut and the newscasting is cut short. As the MC sits with the closed laptop, we see his face full of fear saying, he makes me furious. Continuing with his monologue asking, if you're that successful, are you allowed to look down on people? It feels like he looked down on me and not the reporter. With his hands hovering over a newspaper article, the MC says, if only I had the same kind of as the Flame Emperor. Then I wouldn't have to live in this tiny one-room apartment as empty beer bottles and a trash bag are shown low-key like my room, LOL. But continuing, he goes on to say, nor would I be looked down on as a lowly F-rank hunter without a single skill. Screaming as he tears into the newspaper on the wall, we hear a familiar phrase, I want to become like the Flame Emperor. He continues screaming, I'm so envious. I want to succeed with my own strength as well. As he bangs on the wall, a golden light is shown in the window as the MC says, or at least, if the Flame Emperor's skills were mine, how nice would that be? He questions on his knees. As more of the golden light enters the room, it seems to be directed at the protagonist. Looking up from his tantrum confused, he asks, huh? A golden card has appeared in front of him with him saying, this is. Continuing his sentence, he says, I've seen it in videos thousands of times. With a video of a girl seeing what he just saw, he asks, could it be a skill card as a golden playing card is shown hovering? A status window appears above the card with the words, an unprecedented foul envy. With a bead of sweat dripping down his face, still in shock, he says, huh, and after reading the status window which states, the tower is astonished by your envy and throws you a skill. After reading the description, he's even more confused now. Finally getting a grasp on what's happening, the MC says, wait a second, with clips of other hunters getting a golden skill card in a similar manner. The card is now hovering right in front of his face, as a status window appears above it saying, the tower praises your achievement. The MC then says, this is kind of different from the skill awakenings I've seen in videos. He then begins to stand up and thinks, no, I'm just getting caught up on the wording. This is the moment I have wished for ever since I came here. And it's a golden card, as his hand slowly reaches out to grab it. He grabs the card as if he's afraid it could disappear any second. Then we find out the golden card is a skill that's greater than S rank. A blue status window pops up saying creating skill card. Then a gold one appears giving us the description of the card which says, title, I want to be like you, rank, S+, effect, automatically activated when you are killed by an enemy. You copy one of the skills of the enemy that killed you and make it yours. You may not copy from an opponent you have already copied from. The copied skill is selected randomly. However, you will die. What a great skill, LOL. The MC reads over the description himself and seems happy with the first bit. But as he reads the last line, he realizes something. He has to die for it to work. As a city is shown, he is screaming at the top of his lungs. What the hell kind of skill is this? The story shifts back to the tower, and it looks like we will be getting some background about this world. The tower appeared suddenly in our world. Now a man and his son in a field are looking at the tower in the distance. You could see it on the horizon from anywhere in the world. Those who had nothing to lose were the first to set foot in the tower and see what was inside. Each floor of the tower was filled with monsters from a different world. As a whole slew of monsters are shown all contorted around each other. Next, a man in a green jacket is falling with his hand outstretched towards a golden card, with the words above being, and for the select few visitors selected by the tower, skills appeared. Those who heard the news gathered at the tower and started hunting the monsters, with warrior's eye, the background holding different types of weapons. Then a familiar face appears with a demonic look on his face. Then we see him fighting a giant snake with the MC saying, once I saw the Flame Emperor fighting in the hunting grounds. Then a man in a blue polo appeared on the news, talking about the Flame Emperor. He was holding a flaming spear, and it looked like he was dancing. He was like Navaraja. He felt the embodiment of Shima. Then we hear our MC whining to the cook in orange, "Mr. Manager, can we watch something else?" The cook responds with, "Why, it is just getting good." He then asks the MC, "Do you not like the Flame Emperor?" Then we hear the TV report talking again, saying, despite achieving rank 1, he's still the same. It's refreshing seeing someone not putting up a front. Then our MC is shown with his head on the counter, slumped over and depressed, responding to the cook, "No, it's not that, it's that there are people with lives like that. So why is my life such an unlucky cluster *CK? The cook calls him a drunk fool. Our boy responds with, "Hear me out." Then we are shown the panel from the past event with our MC recapping what happened to the cook by saying, "Yesterday I got an S+ tank skill, but what kind of crappy skill kills you when you use it?" Slamming his fist on the table and sitting up, he says, "I didn't even report it to the Hunter Association, you know," as he burps. He continues as he holds his head in his hand, "Because I am too ashamed to tell anyone that this piece of crap is my skill." As he starts to vomit, the cook tells him to go outside. We cut to the protagonist walking outside, while the ranking for the top hunters appears in a status window above him. Then it shows him on the ground, just waking up, complaining that it feels like his head is gonna shatter. A piercing scream shakes him awake as he looks around. Looking into an alley, he sees the Flame Emperor and a silver-haired woman talking with her, saying, "Please move aside, Mr. Flame Emperor. Why are you suddenly?" The Emperor cuts her off by saying, "Wow, you are a great actor. If someone was watching, they would really think you're the victim here." Miss Saintess, as the girl with silver hair, looks shocked. Holding a purple glass vial, he says, "It's Basilisk's stomach acid, the poison you were planning on feeding me." Moving closer to the Saintess with a demonic look in his eye, he throws the vial to the side and says, "Seriously, if it weren't for my skills, things could have gone really wrong." The glass vial breaks into a million tiny pieces as the Saintess tries to defend herself from the accusation. "That's a misunderstanding, Mr. Flame Emperor. I only desire to raid the tower with you." Getting inches away from the Saintess with a creepy smile on his face, he responds with, "That's what I thought too, but I was wrong." Her voice quacking with fear, the Saintess tires to plead with the Flame Emperor to settle this with words. The MC, holding his hand over his mouth, trying not to be heard, thinks to himself, "What, those two, weren't they dating? Was that not true? What kind of couple has a conversation like that? That is just..." We cut back to the bickering couple with the Emperor grabbing the Saintess by the throat, while saying, "Talk it out sounds good to me, but I get to pick the rules of the conversation." With his hand still covering his mouth, the protagonist thinks, a struggle between someone that wants to murder and someone who doesn't want to get murdered. The Saint struggles in the Emperor's grasp while he says, "I'll be the one to ask questions, you just answer," by nodding your head, claiming he has a lie detection skill, and that if she tells the truth, he'll let her go. So the Flame Emperor who ordered you to kill me as the MC is shown eavesdropping around the corner. He then asks if it was the witch from the Black Dragon. He then monologues about the witch and he says, despite being number 1, he's still the same. It's refreshing to see someone not putting up a front while the Saintess looks dejected. She then slowly nods yes while the Emperor says, "That's what I thought." Smoke rising from his arms, he says farewell to the Saintess. He then promptly burns her alive as she screams out in pain. While the MC has the fire dancing in his eyes, questioning if he is a hero at all. With flames dancing behind him and a shadow over his face, he notices the protagonist watching. The MC tried to run away while yelling "murderer" and "psychopath." He then says, "I need to run away now," as his foot crushes a green crystal. He then looks back in fear of who's chasing him. The Flame Emperor appears from around the corner with flames dancing behind him. With an evil look on his face, the Emperor says, "I thought I got all the rats, but there's one left." With sweat running down his face, the MC thinks those are the eyes of a killer. He continues to try to run away from the Emperor as he says to himself, "The Saintess wasn't the first, and how many people has this guy killed?" Still running, he tries to guess how many people he's killed. A few dozen, a few hundred. Tripping over nothing, he lands face first onto the sidewalk. Turns out he lost his shoe. Breathing heavily, he meekly looks behind him to see if he's still being chased, and sees his shoe that fell off while running. The Flame Emperor slowly approaches with his weapon in his hand as the protagonist screams out in fear. He then begs for his life as the Flame Emperor mocks and tells him he shouldn't have run away. He then asks him, "Did you see it?" Crying and shaking with fear, our MC says, "I didn't see it. I saw nothing." Which, come on, man. You got to be smarter. You're supposed to say, "See what?" The Flame Emperor, who isn't dumb, asks, "What didn't you see?" moving in closer and grabbing our protagonist's throat, just like he did the Saintess, saying, "On top of calling me Flame Emperor, you just so happen to be I." The perfect position to not see anything, ha ha ha. He then sarcastically says, "That's so convincing. If I was even a bit of a fool, I would believe what you said." The MC then fearfully says, "I won't tell anyone, please." The Emperor then says, "If you answer me correctly, you won't end up like the Saintess." We then get a nice close-up of him with the words devil below him, and he then asks, "Who sent you? Was it the Black Dragon?" Still in disbelief that the guy he wanted to be like so bad is actually a dirtbag, and he's upset that he became crazy about him. The MC chirps out, "The lie detection skill." This grabs the Emperor's attention. Continuing his sentence, he says, "I heard you have it. If you use it, you would know I'm really nothing." This makes the Emperor have a look of disgust on his face, and he tells our MC I was lying about that. This scares the protagonist even more as he says, "You weren't certain when you killed her, just because she was a little suspicious." Pushing the MC to the ground, he replies with, "How dare you say such mean things? Who do I look like?" He then claims the Saintess did try to kill him, and she would have tomorrow if he didn't kill her first. Then the MC asks, "How do you know that?" Not giving a straight answer, he just says, "I just do, I have my ways." This also prompts him to grab our protagonist's head and say, "Since you knew about the lie detection skill, I guess you are innocent," he says sarcastically. Thinking he's in the clear, our MC thanks him for believing in him. With his hand still on his head, the Flame Emperor lights it up, saying, "You already saw too much." With a smile on his face, he starts to burn our MC while saying, "I need you to die," and gives him his name Yusuha while saying goodbye. We then get a flashback, and our protagonist's name, which is Kim Gongja. A shadow figure is also patting Kim's head and claiming since his name is Gongja, he needs to be as great as Confucius. Then Kim responds with a smile on his face with a firm, "Yes, director." We then see Kim's last words, which is, "I don't want to die like this," with a status effect appearing below saying, "You have died." Lying on the floor dead, I guess his spirit is saying, "Why did I have to die like that?" Continuing, he says, "No, why did I have to live like that?" Suddenly a blue status window appears with the words, "The conditions have been fulfilled by your death." Another one appears saying, "Copying a random skill from player Yu Suha." Another status window pops up saying, "Creating skill card." The MC opens one eye with a tear rolling down his face and questions Golden. Window says, "Please select a skill card." With cards flying everywhere, he slowly reaches out his hand. He grips the golden card in his hand with a firm tightness. Words pop up. Selection complete. Copying skill as white pixels fill the panels. Our boy snaps awake, with a news channel playing, on the laptop, talking about the Flame Emperor and the Black Dragon, laying in his bed flabbergasted. He sits up, fear in his eyes. He sees the person who killed him on the screen. If you enjoyed the video and want a part 2, get this video to 50 likes, and I'll do a part 2, and make sure to subscribe. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time.